Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of the P&B World Cup show. I'm your host, Abel Sunday. The FIFA World Cup knockout stage continues to deliver unforgettable football. Spain sent a powerful statement with a commanding 3-0 victory over Austria. Portugal edged past Croatia with 2-1 victory in a thrilling contested, while Switzerland booked their place in the next round with a professional 2-0 win over Algeria. Tonight, we'll break down the standout performances, the tactical masterstroke, the defining moment, and what this result means for the road to the World Cup glory. Joining me live from Port Harcourt is our sports maestro, Jackson Caleb, and also Alaka Tom, and they will do justice to our topic today. Grab your teacup because P&B World Cup show start now.
While corporate boardroom strategies and microeconomic indicators usually dominate our headlines, today we pivot to a multi-million naira sport economy that is capturing the nation's attention, the business of Nigerian basketball. The Nigerian Basketball Premier League has officially concluded its regular season grind. The data is in, the conference brackets have settled, and the infrastructure for the Elite Playoff 8 tournament is officially locked in place. Let's look at the market leaders. In the highly competitive Atlantic Conference, the Marktown Flyers have leveraged an aggressive campaign to secure the coveted number 1 seed. However, their market dominance faces an immediate threat from the corporate powerhouse and 6-time champions, the River Hoopers. The Hoopers recently delivered a stark statement on the hardwood, handing the Flyers a heavy defeat in 4th. Turning our attention northward to the Savannah Conference, a dramatic disruption in the established hierarchy has reshaped the board. The Aso Skyhawks have executed an exceptional regular season strategy, soaring past veteran franchises to seize the number 1 seed. Right on their heels are the 3-1-3 Warriors, clinching the second position through sheer defensive efficiency. Meanwhile, Boko City Chiefs consolidate their market share in 3rd, leaving the final playoff berth to the league's most enduring legacy franchise, the Kano Pillars, who sneak through in 4th. 8 elite basketball franchises, millions of fans invested, but only one organization will walk away with the ultimate return on investment. The Nigeria Premier Basketball League Championship will soon crown the champions. We'll be tracking the economic and athletic fallout right here as the playoff 8 gets underway. For Politics and Business Television, I'm Alaka Tom.
Welcome back. It's P&B World Cup show reaching live from the nation's capital, and we're crossing all to the Oil City, Port Harcourt. Jackson Caleb is right there waiting for us. Jackson, how are you? And good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Conde, and once again my sincere gratitude to be back on the show. Been so cozy and chilly since morning show. Been so cozy and chilly since morning. So nothing really about the day.
Nothing really about the day, but I thought the footballer and Wike, how do I call it? Battle has chilled down a little because we are not hearing much of those guys anymore. We don't hear much of Wike and the footballer thing again. It's like everything has like died off a bit. But right now, I think it's the FIFA World Cup that is buzzing everywhere, and these guys never cease to surprise us. Every day they give us something to talk about, like what even happened yesterday. Ronaldo also scoring his first ever knockout stage goal yesterday, and a lot of things. However, how did Spain completely bypass Austria's famous high press? You know, this team, we know them with that pattern of pressing, but how was it that Spain was able to neutralize that against the Austria yesterday?
First of all, I don't think it should be much of a surprise because this Spanish team, like I said earlier, is made up of specialists. In the midfield especially, each midfielder is specialized with one ability to the other. And then again, if you look at the lineup, this lineup was no change, especially in the midfield from their game against Saudi Arabia. So But that's one of the things that we're looking out for. So if you check the game against Saudi Arabia, the same way they dominated the midfield and also recovered the ball so easily, that was the same thing they also did. And then playing out from the back, they had Kubasi, they had players like Kubasi and Laporte who are able to play out from the back. So if you decide to press them from the back, they have midfielders who can also play out between the pockets. You have Rodri, the holding midfielder, you have Pedri, one of the best pivots, and then you have Dani Olmo, who has the ability to also play in the half spaces. And then again, that's kudos to Oyarzabal because he was able to make the extra man in the midfield. So that was the reason why he watched the game yesterday. You could hardly see him in the 18 yards, but he was outside collecting those linking up plays between Lamine Yamal and Alex Biena. And since Alex Biena is a traditional left winger and an attacking midfielder, at some point he had to also come into the midfield so that Cucurella could overlap. So you could say that at some point they were over 5 midfielders in the game. So 3 midfielders cannot play on 5 midfielders. Definitely there's going to be a midfield advantage for the players coming on. And then there's also going to be some disadvantage for the Austrian press. So those are some of the tactical changes that the Spanish midfield had to do. And again, they had to readjust their style of passing. Especially in the last game, we complained that they played through the wings so much. So they have to go direct. So when they play direct and then they did that, okay, try to choke the middle, they play to the wide. That again distract the Austrian setup and make them lose possession. So a few mechanics that they were able to do to overthrow the Austrian spread.
Indeed, I totally agree with you, Caleb. And we are just being joined by the sport Berlusconi. Aroko Tom, Aroko, good evening, and I believe you are doing so well. I heard that you guys they are feeding you so well. You are getting so fat. Look at Aroko, my God, Jesus, what is going on here? You look so healthy. Is it that we are not treating you well in Abuja? Do you think you're going to come back?
No, I plan to come back. I miss P&B TV. It's an amazing one. But we also have to go out, to represent P&B TV elsewhere, which is what I'm doing.
Fantastic. I think
dominated, but I think it was consistently disrupted, Austria's defensive shape. And I think that is an amazing thing and something that was interesting for me to watch.
Amazing indeed. Caleb, how vital is Pedro's Porro's attacking versatility now?
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
So watching Pedro Porro from Tottenham, I think and that's where Pedro Porro's technicality and then his ability on the board, especially going forward in the final third. And then again, it's not also about being advanced. It is his ability to position. He knows where to be, especially when crosses are coming in, especially when sets are coming in. So those are some of the things that De La Fuente was looking for, especially going forward in this game like this.
Exactly. But Tom, looking at Alex Biana quietly, do you think he's quietly becoming the main creative engine in this Spanish side with what he has done yesterday?
I think, in my opinion, there's a very, very strong argument, for Biana, for Alex Biana. He has become Spain's most creative midfielder in creating midfield, in my own opinion. While the likes Rodri, he controls the tempo, and Fabian Ruiz, he usually progresses, possessions. But Biana usually provides that final pass. And this is a player another utility player, a player that does a lot on the field, a player that will give you 100%, his ability as well to receive between defensive lines, switch, and he kind of can switch, plays quickly and create through balls constantly with unsettled Austria's midfield. I think it was an amazing one to watch. And when you look at the kind of player that Alex is, Bernard also worked, tirelessly without possession. And this is what I like about the football we are watching. When footballers not just think about themselves at the moment, but then again, they also think about the team and they realize that it's not just about the common. The World Cup is a very big stage, it's the biggest stage. When it matters than most, when you can beat for your country. And I think his possession, it helps Spain immediately to recover the ball after losing it severally. And his development, in my own opinion, has been alright. Is it's translating perfectly onto the international stage, and I think Spain, they increasingly look to him whenever they need to unlock, most compact defenses. He sneaks that ball in somehow he just goes out.
Indeed. Caleb, looking at Spain, 4 games in this World Cup, they've not conceded any. 4 games, 4 wins. Okay, I think they drew 1, but they've not conceded any goal at all. Can you say, or are they looking convincing right now that they're title contender?
Well, looking at the teams that have been eliminated and then the much more that we have to go ahead, I think I'm not fully convinced, but I'm a bit convinced when you look at their style of play and then the players they have on ground. They have players who can, in a moment, change the trick of games, who can, just pull up those magic moments. So by the time you look at those ability of the players, you are tempted to see that, okay, right now, these guys are looking like title contenders, because when you even look at the round of 16, and then you are clearly seeing that, okay, these guys still have a headway to go. So yeah, right now I can say that they are one of the favorites to win the World Cup.
Actually, Tom, looking at Spain, can they maintain this momentum going to the round of 16 as it is right now, and knowing fully well that the certain Portugal is somewhere looking at them? Do you think they can replicate this same performance when they get to meet Portugal?
I think there's something unique about Spain. Spain on this stage has shown us a lot of prowess. I think it's going to become difficult for Spain as it will become difficult for other teams as well. When you progress in the World Cup, you don't expect it to get easier. But I think their agenda is an amazing one. While Nomad, he's fantastic. When you see players like Laporte, you see players like Rodri, they consistently protect. It means a lot. You tend to make your opponents want to rush. And eventually, I think when you see teams that are elite, elite teams will usually create chances. But like it said in sports, attack wins games, but defense wins championship. And I think the Spain's defense might just help them get to the promised land.
But with your own opinion,
defense wins championship. So I think
do they look convincing for you?
Defense wins championship. So I think with their defense, they are good. Their defense, they are good to go.
All right, it's time for us to go on a short break. When we come back, definitely we'll go over to Portugal. All right, it's time for us to go on a short break. When we come back, definitely we'll go over to Portugal, Croatia game that ended 2-1. And we saw the 2 old guys. So Luka Modric, 40 over 40. We have Ronaldo also 41 doing their thing right there on the pitch. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll tell you everything about that game. Countdown is over. The world is ready. From June 11th to July 19th, football takes center stage as the biggest FIFA World Cup in history unfold across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. 48 nations, 104 matches, countless moments of drama, passion, and glory. Join Abel Sunday and the PNB TV Sports team as we bring you exclusive preview, expert analysis, match review, breaking stories, and everything you need to know from the FIFA World Cup 2026. Who will rise? Who will fall? Which nation will lift football's most coveted trophy? Which nation will lift football's most coveted trophy? From the group stage battle to the grand finale, PNB TV is your home for the road to World Cup glory. Don't miss a moment of the action. Tune in daily from June 11, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. through July 19th with comprehensive World Cup coverage. FIFA World Cup closer to you. For sponsorship, contact Abel Sunday on 081 499 15988. Welcome back. It's the PNB World Cup show reaching live from the nation's capital, and I'm still with Tom Aroko and also Caleb Jackson, and they were doing the Lord's works. That's what we call it. But we're talking about the Portugal-Croatia game right that ended 2-1. And Tom, I think I find it very fascinating looking at 2 old guys doing the thing, showing the young boys how this game is being played. Honestly, I think you can't take it away from Ronaldo. Ronaldo has paid his dues, staying in for this long term. His career, I think his career has been nothing short of blessings, let me put it that way. I don't think a lot of persons will get that opportunity or have that chance to get to achieve what Ronaldo have achieved in a very, very long time. But from your own end, does Ronaldo's first knockout 6 consecutive World Cup, he has not scored after the group stage. Do you understand? Many will argue, but
Ronaldo's age as well and longevity. The goal, in my own opinion, it symbolizes not only individual brilliance, but also a remarkable, preservation of a great player across multiple World Cup and multiple championships.
indeed, and well, of course, when a Ronaldo fan is speaking, you will know that yes, actually, this is actually looking at Ronaldo and with what he has done so far, but with the team, the Portuguese team. Caleb, are you there with me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, with the Portuguese team coming into this World Cup, a lot of people have predicted that with the kind of talent that they have in their arsenal, there should be, in fact, no team should be able to compete with them. And we have a certain Bruno Fernandes that, of course, arguably is one of the best player, or rather one of the best player of the English Premier League last season, and also have the highest assist, broke I think Thierry Henry's record, having the best assist last season, the highest assist, I beg your pardon. But coming into this game, we've not seen much of that. But many will ask that, is it that is Roberto Martinez, that's their coach, that is the problem of this team? Is it that he does not know how to put this talent together and for them to gel together? Because having a certain Bruno Fernandes and having a certain Ronaldo that is a very good finisher, of course, he should be going to bed like you don't have anybody to contend with. Let me get your opinion on that.
Okay. For those of us who critically watch football, who understand that the combination of these three players is that these are three players who are system players. They play under a particular system, and then they cannot function when you just throw them in the mud. That's one of the things that we need to understand, especially with the John Evans and the Vitinha. When I took a look at the game yesterday, at some point I began to understand some of the delicacies or some of the intricacies that the game was having, especially with the Portuguese transition on the ball. Now, for PSG, they build the game around Vitinha because John Evans does much of the work and then he's still able to retain the ball so that Vitinha can perform on the ball. Now, when you watch the way they move in the midfield, especially when they have a midfield of Fabian Ruiz, Vitinha, and John Evans, it's Fabian Ruiz that always finds the space. So that when Vitinha is out of options, he provides the extra option. Now, Bruno Fernandes was not able to do that much of the time in the game, in the sense that Fernandes operated a system rather. You cannot now blame it on the coach. But what you as a coach can try to do is to understand and set up a system that you believe three of them can play with. So that is where people fall to Roberto Martinez. But however, he did something that amazed me yesterday because I've been crying that Fernandes at some point needed to be taken out of the game because there was no creativity. All we could count was just chances or passes. We could count passes completion, and passes completion is not important for a knockout stage statistics. So at some point, you needed Bruno Fernandes to even rest or come out of the game, and then he had the boldness to do that. And then you could actually outrightly see that after Bruno Fernandes left, like the first minute after Bruno Fernandes left, they were able to create two chances, and from there, with the corner that came to the penalty was even one of those chances that they were able to create. So then again, that shows that there are a lot of other ideas that I can also bring on to this pitch to help Portugal go on in the games remaining.
All right, well said. Tom, the disallowed 95th minute goal equalizer, was that the right call, or do you think there's something fishy there?
I think, in my own opinion, it was the right call because only one thing. If the VRO determines that just go Gravitas goal is a VRO system and to see who squabble it out. And I think the problem was not the call, but I think it was the timing. While emotions were high, while it was the last minute, while that goal would have kept Croatia in the game. But it's quite unfortunate that that was the shot that was made. So I think the timing was what the problem was, but the call was good.
Okay, the call was good. I would have loved to ask Caleb if he shares some sentiment with you. But Caleb, why did Portugal's defense collapse right after halftime? What do you think happened?
I would not really say much of the defense collapsing, but I would say lots of strategic identity, especially in the marking. Now, if you look at the way the first goal was scored, Modric got the ball, released the ball to Kovacic. Kovacic beat the first line of the defense, which was the attack. And then we could see them strolling back sluggishly. So then again, that shows you that there is a wake-up call that needs to be made, especially with this Portuguese team, in how they track back. And then again, you could see the midfield. Bruno Fernandes was not on defensive duty. He couldn't even pick out a man to mark in the midfield. And then again, Croatia, like I said, they have tactical style of play. They just come to the field to throw the ball up and down, especially with how they play the ball wide on the wings. They don't just play the ball on the wings. It is because the players on the wings have the ability to take on their man and create chances from wide. That is why they often play the ball and the overload on the wings. And then again, the moment I saw the ball switching, I really knew that it was going to be a problem. Because, first of all, I know the capacity of Ruben Diaz. Sorry to say, he won Premier League Player of the Year, but for me, that's an award that he should never come out to say. Because he's not been able to defend that in any defensive capacity. And that goal yesterday just goes to show how much more we needed Ruben Diaz. Because Renato Vega already took on one particular man. Ruben Diaz, I expected him to be mentally aware of the position that was lapsing. And then in space of a minute, you could see that they already lost their sense of defensive awareness. And then that was what caused the goal. And then again, if you also look at the other goals, even the other goals off the ball matters, and that could be crucial if they intend to beat Spain going forward in their next game.
It will actually be crucial if they intend to beat Spain, and I think that's a good game to. In fact, that will be a very, very tough game for both sides, both the Portuguese and also the Spaniard. But Tom, looking at Rafael Leo, does he earn a permanent starting spot in this Portuguese team?
I think, in my own opinion, every major performance, strengthens Rafael's claim, in my own opinion. His probably when you look at his acceleration forces, he forces defenders, to retreat a lot. And that's something that I found amazing when I watched him. He's rarely do you see players, or seldomly you see players that make, defenders retreat. He created spaces for Ronaldo and Fernandes and Bernardo Silva, and unlike, in my own opinion, unlike many, traditional wingers, they are consistently, he carried the ball over long distances, which was really good to watch. He turned defensive situations into attacks almost every single time, or after every single time that he had the ball. His defensive work, in my own opinion, it has improved and it has impressed me drastically and significantly under Martinez. I think he has done well. And if he maintains this level, my God, I think he deserves to become Portugal's first choice, when it comes to the left winger. And I'm sure
too many could spoil his beautiful dribbles and put in the game. There was sometimes like he needed to take an extra touch just to beat the man. He slows down the acceleration. Yeah, just like Tom said, actually, he had that ability to make good defense repeat. And we saw the goal he had yesterday. That was a furious attempt. You could see that he was trying to make a scored in the last game. So he wanted to also continue from where he stopped against Uzbekistan because he came on and scored. So he was trying to make sure that I didn't get his name on the score sheet so that going forward in the games he could be next star. But something I want to point out is that
the 2018 World Cup finals, if I'm correct, he inspired another deep run as well. I think in 2022, won the Golden Ball, and he's always performing at the highest level. And I think it's a future generations, they'll remember Luka Modric They will remember him as that player that took them to the finals in 2018, as that player that helped them to have a deep run in Croatian football into a respected, global football power. And I think that says a lot about his person.
Yeah, it says a lot about his. Yeah, I think that do say a lot about his kind of person. And Caleb, this is a player that also medalist in World Cup because he came second. I think he finished second 2018, as Tom rightly pointed. Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
No, like I was saying, just like you said. No, like I was saying, just like you said, you finished second in 2018.
Yes, 20.
And finished 22. So I think if you check his decorated awards, and then again, one of the has 6 Champions League. So definitely, in all ramifications, we clearly remember him. Especially that 2018 season, because just imagine you having to compete with Ronaldo and Messi, and then win it over them. So for me, that's some form of accolade that we also remember him for.
Indeed. It's time for us to go on a short break. We'll come back, we'll go to the last segment, and we're going to take on Switzerland versus Algeria. What is happening to the African nations is that they are living one by one. It's only Morocco that have scaled through. Are we going to see the exit of Ghana and also Egypt? And who is playing to Cape Verde today? We don't know, but time will tell. But let's go on a short break. When we come back, Tom and Caleb are here to give us everything about that game. Champions, PMB TV bringing the beautiful game closer to you. For sponsorship, contact Abel Sunday on 081 499 15988. Welcome back. It's the PMB World Cup show, reaching live from the nation's capital. And of course, we're talking about Portugal, Croatia, and also Spain doing it over